The restaurant was nearly empty that night. Just the hum of a broken neon light outside the window and the occasional clink of a glass behind the bar. Rain tapped against the large windows that looked out over the dim street. It had been a slow shift, the kind that gave too much time to think and not enough in tips to make it worth it. Jade wiped down the last table with a tired hand, rolling her shoulders back and checking the time. Almost 2 a.m. Her shoes pinched her toes, and the ache in her calves made her want to cry. But that was life lately. Long hours, quiet shifts, and bills waiting at home. She turned to grab her bag when she saw him. He was slumped against the sushi bar, half sitting, half sprawled, an empty sake bottle next to him and another barely touched. His hair was messy, the collar of his expensive shirt wrinkled, and his tie was crooked. He looked like he'd been through something deep. He raised his head sluggishly, his eyes glassy and unfocused. She could smell the alcohol. From 10 feet away, miss, he muttered, slurring his words. I think I'm lost. Jade blinked, trying to make sense of it. She looked around for another customer, a coworker, anyone who might help, but it was just her and him. Her first thought was that he must have stumbled in off the street, but then she noticed the watch on his wrist. Sleek, minimalist, and absolutely not the kind of thing you find at Walmart. That watch alone could pay her rent twice. You okay, sir? She asked cautiously, walking closer. He looked up at her again, trying to sit straighter but failing. I need to go home. I don't remember where that is. All right, she said, crouching beside him and trying to catch his eyes. Do you have a phone? He pulled it out of his pocket and held it out like it weighed 100 pounds. The screen was cracked, dead, and unresponsive. She sighed. Of course. She looked back at him. His suit was custom fitted, the fabric Italian. His shoes, though scuffed, screamed luxury. But none of it mattered when you were drunk, vulnerable, and lost. Can you tell me your name? He squinted at her, then mumbled something that sounded like Nakamura. Nakamura, she repeated, nodding. All right, Mr. Nakamura, let's get you out of here. She grabbed her phone and called a cab, then helped him to his feet. He leaned heavily on her, his weight pressing into her shoulder. He mumbled apologies as they walked out into the rain. The cab took a while to arrive, and during that time, she learned a few things. He was, in fact, very rich. He owned something involving real estate and tech, though the details were fuzzy. He kept saying things, like I ruined everything. And she was right. I don't know what I'm doing. Jade didn't pry. She just kept him talking so he wouldn't pass out in the gutter. When the cab came, he fumbled with his wallet but couldn't find a working card. She sighed and used hers. It was more than she could afford, but she couldn't leave him there. Not like that. As she gave the driver directions to the most expensive hotel in the area, hoping he had a room there. He reached out and touched her arm lightly. You're kind, he said. People aren't kind anymore. She smiled faintly. You're lucky I haven't had my coffee yet, otherwise I'd have left you for the rats. He chuckled softly and slumped against the window. She didn't expect to see him again. People like that, people with money, with power. They didn't remember waitresses. They didn't remember rain-soaked nights and cab rides paid for by strangers. She went home, peeled off her wet clothes, and fell asleep curled up on the couch, exhaustion heavier than anything. The next day, she checked her phone during a break and found a message from an unknown number. Thank you for last night. Please call me Jay Nakamura. She stared at it, heart thudding. She hesitated, wondering if it was real. Then she replied, You okay? A moment later, the phone rang. She answered on the second ring. Miss Jade. The voice was clearer now, calm, professional. Yeah, this is Jun Nakamura. We met last night. Or rather, you rescued me. I would very much like to repay your kindness. There's no need, she said quickly. You had a rough night. Happens to the best of us. I insist, he said. Meet me for lunch. She hesitated. I work double shifts all week. I'll have a car pick you up. That's not necessary. I think you'll want to hear what I have to say. Against her better judgment, she said yes. The car came 2 hours later. Black, sleek tinted windows. She felt ridiculous stepping into it in her work uniform, apron balled in her lap. The driver didn't speak, just handed her a bottle of water and adjusted the temperature. 15 minutes later, they pulled up in front of a private restaurant, on the edge of the city. Inside, Nakamura sat at a quiet booth in the back, fresh pressed suit and the calm air of someone who'd never been drunk in his life. He stood when he saw her, offering a polite bow. You clean up nice, she said. Sitting, he smiled. So do you, though I liked the apron. She rolled her eyes. What is this about? He got straight to the point. I own multiple restaurants, globally. French, Italian, fusion, but I've always wanted to open a Japanese concept that feels real heartfelt. Not trendy, not flashy, just honest, grounded food. The kind you'd find in Kyoto or Osaka, but made with soul. She folded her arms. What does that have to do with me? You helped me when I was down. You could have ignored me, stolen from me, laughed at me. Instead, you helped. That tells me everything I need to know. I'm a waitress, she said, not a chef, not an owner. You told me last night your grandfather taught you to cook. She blinked. You remembered that? I remember every word. I've done some research since then. Your menu at that diner, half of it's yours. You invented those dishes. You built something there, even if they don't see it. She was quiet. I want to open a Japanese restaurant, and I want you to run it, not manage it, own it. I'll provide the capital, the team, the support. You provide the vision, she laughed. Are you crazy? Probably, he said, but I'm serious, and he was. Over the next 3 weeks they met often. He introduced her to his staff, his lawyers, his investors. They scouted locations. She found a quiet spot near the arts district, an old bookstore with exposed brick and vintage light fixtures. It was perfect. He let her design everything. The colors, the layout, the menu. He brought in chefs to train under her. He flew in a sushi master from Tokyo to consult. She oversaw every detail, from the rice to the tableware. He let her make every call. Opening night came fast. The restaurant, called Kazoku, meaning family, had a line around the block. Local influencers showed up. Newspapers covered it. Nakamura stood beside her, calm and proud. Your dream now, he whispered as the doors opened. She walked the floor like she belonged there, and she did. Guests loved the food, the atmosphere, the warmth. And over the next few months, Kazoku became a sensation, not just a restaurant, but a movement. Kids from the neighborhood came in for free lessons on Saturdays. Elderly neighbors dined for half price. Artists displayed work on the walls. And through it all, Jade stayed humble, always in the kitchen, always checking every plate. One night, after closing, Nakamura waited for her outside. She locked up, saw him leaning against the wall, and laughed. Let me guess. Another crazy idea, he smiled. Just one. What? Let's open 5 more. She looked up at the stars, then back at him. You sure you're not drunk again? He grinned. Only on success. She laughed, stepping into the street with him. Both of them walking into a future neither had planned but both had earned.